Gemini, hello there, my beautiful friends. We're going to do your general tarot reading for late December, moving into early January 2025. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, I appreciate each and every single one of you. So let's get right down to business, as always, and start you off with an oracle card here, just so we could dip our toes in the energy and see what's happening for the lovely Geminis out there. Hope you're all doing fabulous and fantastic as we get ready to start a brand new year with tons of blessings and abundance. Let's see what's going on here. My guides, talk to me. What's happening for the Gemini collective late December into early January, please? And yeah, we're just going to take a real quick look at this first card. Then we'll get into the full reading itself. And at the very end, I'll pull you a bonus card from the Shadowland Tarot, just to see what might be in the shadows or what shadow work you can lean into, which is always interesting. But let's get it going here. Let's rock and see what we got for Gemini gang. What's happening in late December, early January? What energies, messages, insights can we take a little peek at? Let's get this first card out. Oh, there it goes. Almost fell off the table, but we got it. Oh, I feel like I got this for you a couple weeks ago, and it's showing up for you again. I do like this card, and I do say that it's one of the more rare occurrences when I do readings with this deck. It's actually one of the cards I do link to the Gemini collective, so there could be focuses on the self, whether it's like self-confidence, self-reliance, or just like putting yourself as a priority could be super important. But there's a lot of layers to that card. Now, before we fully dive into it, if you're new here, I'll be speaking about the December subscriber surprise towards the end, so you might want to check that out. And also, if you could kindly illuminate that like button by tapping it right on its third eye, you know, I'd greatly appreciate it. But enough of the promo, into the reading. Let's talk a little more in depth about this card. So as you can see there, it's a beautiful piece of imagery. It looks like we have twins behind that mask. And notice that each one of them have an eye going through there. Now, of course, we could dive into the symbolism of what masks mean. There could be certain mysteries or hidden information, all that good stuff. But since this is the card I do link to Gemini, I mean, there could be certain situations where you're feeling two ways about. There could be certain aspects of the self, whether it's like, okay, well, you need to prioritize yourself here or do what's right for you. That could most definitely be the case when one of your cards shows up. But the big theme I always talk about with this card is perspective. Whether you're going through good situations, rough situations, this is a card of empathy to me. Putting yourself in someone else's shoes, or maybe you wish someone could see a situation from your vantage point. That could definitely be the case here. Now, if you are going through anything problematic or anything difficult, when this card shows up, Spirit could be asking you to just really look at the situation from an outside looking in perspective. So like detach your emotions from it and just look at it in a logical way as if it wasn't your issue. That's a big thing I pick up here. Or like, what would you advise your friend to do if they were in a situation? Let's just leave it at that. Let's get into tarot. And yeah, I always say the first card here doesn't make or break the reading. It's just a little footnote. So let's get you 3 tarot cards in the upright. Then we'll get into that intuitive juiciness. Shuffle it up one time here for the Geminis. And while we do, let's talk about last week's reading, my friends. There was a lot of mental action in last week's reading. It was titled, They Are Nervous. Now, the big vibes I was picking up, and again, it could have been your energy, it could have been someone else's. There was a lot of thinking. There was a whole lot of overthinking. The high stress level was showing up as well, and I was also getting like some self-doubt. So it was a bit of a rough one. But I mean, that happens, right? Life is about ups and downs. Let's see what shows up for you this week. As you know, energy is very fluid. It's never set in stone. So only take this how it hits for you, because we could be seeing your vibe or somebody else's, right? Let's get it going. 3 cards here for my Gemini friends. Hopefully you aren't wound too tight. That's what I'm hoping for you. Let's see what's happening in late December moving into January. Intense. Super, super intense that we're leading the way with judgment in position number 1. So we will most definitely have to address this card. Doesn't have to be bad. Like I said, it's just very intense to me. The vibe that it always gives off. Let's get a couple more. What do we have here for Gemini? Yep. Okay. Queen of Cups, that's softer. So it's like we have a stark difference in approach or energy here, where one is like super intense, super aggressive. The other one is very passive, very calm. So like it's bizarre how it's showing up here. Let's get one more. Maybe you're trying to let something calm down. That could definitely be the case. Okay. All right. So we have the Death card on the back. Don't be nervous about that. Okay. This card can have some very, very good qualities, and it shares a lot in common with this card right up here in the front. So let's go through. I'll give you some of the classical meanings and archetypes, then we'll get into that juicy intuitive stuff. Now, at first glance, you know I always like to look for elemental themes, and a big one I'm seeing here is a lot of water. So there's a lot of internal energy still, kind of like what I was seeing last week, whereas last week's there was a lot of mental, tons of emotional with the Queen of Cups and the Death card. That's Scorpio energy, so big water vibes here. So just know in this time, you might be in your feelers a little more than you normally are. Your emotions could be much more intense, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. There's a certain intensity to what I'm picking up here, especially with like these two very powerful karmic cards on the extreme ends. Like when we have Judgment and Death, very similar, but it's like they're similar but not exactly the same. There's a lot of change here as well. So it makes sense with the time of year we're in. Let's go through piece by piece and really start to build it out though. So position number one, we are starting with the Judgment card. And as I mentioned, very, very intense. It's one of the most intense cards in the whole entire deck. It's right up there with the Tower whenever we see it. So it does have that jarring, shocking type of energy connected to it. Judgment could also link to making literal judgments or choices. So for some Geminis, you might just be in a place, in a space where it's like, okay, should I go this route or should I go that route? How should I handle this? What approach should I take? But again, Judgment to me is like, it's explosive, it's Plutonian energy. So it does represent change, represents the karmic cycles of life, the beginnings, the ends. And we're going to see more of that when we get to the back end of this spread. So I feel like this can be good. It's just a very explosive energy for us to start off with. So hopefully this is explosive in a good way where you're seeing leaps and gains and not just something that's a little mayhem when this card is in the mix. I will also say when it comes to Judgment, aside from the karmic and the change-based energy, this is a card I often see when things come back around. Okay, so whether it's situations that you've dealt with before, whether it's individuals, sometimes this card could represent things flaring back up or returning. So we'll see what's up with that. Moving to the center, we have the Queen of Cups, and you will see what I mean, a much softer, more chill type of vibe than what we have here on the extreme ends. So whether there's a situation where it's like, okay, you could take the aggressive approach, you could take the passive approach. We'll see what shows up when we get to the clarification point. But the Queen of Cups, it represents a lot of things. It could be a water sign. Remember, it's not gender specific. So Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio could be very prominent when this card is here. It represents mother figures. So whether it's motherhood, mother figures, fertility in general, I generally see this card as having a lot of potential and possibilities. Now, queens represent the internal aspects of their suit. And since the cup suit is water, it's extra emotional. So when we see her card here, it's just like extra strong feeling, extra strong emotion. So your thoughts, your feelings, it could be super intense right now. Hopefully they're positive. Hopefully they're not in a downward swing, but we will see. It's loving, it's caring, it's nurturing. So we'll definitely have to dig in further to see what this Queen of Cups is about. Now, in the challenge, like I said, it could be quite down in the dumps, but I'm getting a softer vibe. Like I said, with all this like super intense energy on the extreme ends, to me, it's like a time of calm or serenity. So this can be really nice. Moving to the back end, though, we have a mirror energy to what we were seeing in the front end. We have the Death card, big Scorpio energy. So if you're not connected to Scorpio, a lot of the themes of people with Scorpio placements, and I am one of them, is it's about death and rebirth. It's about remaking yourself, changing yourself. This isn't a card of endings only. Now, it can represent endings. It can represent chapters closing out, which at the time of year we're in right now makes a lot of sense, like out with the old and with the new. But this is more of like a phoenix rising from the ashes, like remaking itself, rechanging itself, and it can be very good. So you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of karmic energy. There's a lot of change-based energy. There's things closing. There's things opening. So there's a lot of things in play when this card is here. When it comes to the challenging side of the Death card, once again, super intense. So whether it's emotionally intense or just a very intense time period, and in its worst sense, it can represent just something that's at an end. So we'll definitely have to dig into that further. I want to dive deeper on all of it. Let's jump in and clarify. Okay, let's get a good shuffle here for you, Gemini. Let's see what's happening. My guide, spirit team. And yes, this is where I go intuitive with the message, which means I just tell you how it feels to me. So feel free to do further research or rely on your base knowledge of tarot, because as you know, every single reading is about the reader's interpretation, and I'm just giving you mine. Let's go in on Judgment. Oh, and yes, if you're a reader yourself, please feel free to play along. That's why the box is here. If you're feeling any messages you want to give to Gemini, you could drop it in the comments. I don't mind at all. Okay, judgment time. Talk to me. What is this intense energy? Knight of Pentacles. Sudden stoppage? Okay. All right, so this is presenting itself in two very distinct ways. Either this is something that stops abruptly. So again, possible things closing out. So whether it's an ending of some sort where it stops quick. It's either an explosive ending or one that just comes in out of nowhere, like surprisingly. Or it could also be two other things, someone either trying to stop the inevitable, where it's like, okay, well, I know this is going to happen and I'm going to try to delay it. Hopefully that's not the case, or just somebody really trying to reverse course. So this is very bizarre energy that we're picking up here. So for a lot of Geminis in this time, and listen, I know one of the beautiful strengths about Geminis is that you're really good at putting things into perspective, like we saw with that first card. There might be a lot of that going on, like playing devil's advocate, seeing things from this side and that side, and just doing a lot of mental gymnastics. So I would say watch out for that in this time, that you're not doing too much mental gymnastics. But yeah, a lot of things here, and it just feels very abrupt to me. So again, quick rundown, this could be an explosive end or one that's very surprising and just stops suddenly. We'll see if an ending shows up here. But I also see a delaying as well, where it's like I'm gonna try to slow this down. I'm gonna try to stop this. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. So we're gonna see what the Queen of Cups has to say. I'm not seeing the full picture just yet, but that energy is peculiar. That's for sure. That's why I gave that message about like the mental gymnastics. So let's see what the Queen of Cups has. Why is she here? Where's the Queen of Cups in the mix? Cute. Lovers in reverse. That's another one of your cards here showing up in reverse underneath this Queen of Cups. This could go one or both ways. Now, since it is a Gemini reading, this card does have some extra importance. Now, for a small portion of you, it could easily just represent having issues with someone that you were very close with. So I'd watch out for interpersonal issues in this time. Someone that you're pretty close with. Or, again, this could be an important warning about your emotions and feelings in this time. Because when we have the Queen of Cups, the intensity with the Lovers in reverse, that could be Spirit saying, like, listen, either you're a little more emotionally volatile than you normally are. And with the beautiful Geminis that I know in my personal life, they're very logical people. They're fun people. I enjoy Gemini energy quite a bit. But with this, it's like a little gloomy. It's a little down in the dumps. So this could be an important or an emotional warning here in the center that I would watch out for. Be kind to yourself. That's one thing I really want to say. If you are going through a difficult time, if you have gone through an ending or you're processing one for whatever reason, I think it's very important to be kind to yourself when I see an alignment like this. Don't beat yourself up and just love yourself, if that makes sense. Let's keep moving. Let's see what the Death card has, then we'll do a quick little recap before we get into the shadow. So there's a lot of intensity here. There's definitely a lot of intensity within this reading this week, and that's okay, right? Life is like that sometimes. So why is the Death card here for my Geminis before we get into the recap? Why is it in the mix? Okay, Nine of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Yeah, so there is something that even if you want to delay it, like you can't for whatever reason. It's so peculiar the way this is showing up. Now, a small portion of Geminis, there might be something going on where it's like out of your hands. Okay? I'm not feeling that for every single Gemini, but when I see the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, that's an uprooting, that is a change. And underneath the Death card, it's like, all right, well, this change is going to happen whether you like it or whether you don't. So it can be something that's kind of out of your control. I would say watch out for issues with career in this time. So it's like we have a little bit of both. That's why I'm feeling this intensity, because we have the interpersonal and now we're seeing like work and career. So I feel like for a lot of Geminis now could be a transitional period for a lot of you where it's like, all right, well, the energy's shifting and changing. Nothing's really set in stone just yet. Now, the Nine of Pentacles is a card of independence. It's a card of blessings and abundance. It's usually very sturdy and firm. Not very changeable, but when it shows up in reverse, it's similar to like a tower. So there are multiple things showing up, like on the front and back end. There are endings showing up here. And I feel like that's okay, but there's also this inevitability here. Like there is something where it's like, okay, you could try to delay it, but I mean, sometimes we can't, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to be a downer or anything like that. I'm just seeing a lot of intensity within this energy this week. So there's a couple of little warnings. And again, if that's not you, if you're cool, if everything's fine, beautiful. This could be someone you're connected to, though. They might be going through a difficult one. So let's go through and do a quick recap, then we'll get into the shadow card. If you kindly look in the box, so much intensity happening here. Position number 1, we have Judgment with the Knight of Pentacles in the upright. This did feel very abrupt to me. So whether it's like a surprising ending or like an explosive one, it just comes in out of nowhere. It's like very abrupt. Another vibe I was picking up here is trying to, like, knowing something is about to happen, but like trying to delay it for whatever reason, or try to reverse course. Okay, there could be somebody you're connected to where they're trying to like walk something back or reverse course. Into the center, we have the Queen of Cups with the Lovers in reverse. So in this time, you might have some interpersonal tension or friction when I see this, but for another portion of you, this could be an important emotional warning here, where like you might be feeling things a little deeper than you normally do. You might be feeling a little more up and down emotionally than you normally do, and that's okay. I feel like there's an underlying message of self-love and self-care. Make sure you're kind to yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Moving to the back end, we have the Death card with the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So again, this could be a change that might be out of your hands, where it's like, okay, well, I mean, there's not really much I could do about it. Yeah, I do see another possible ending showing up here, and also friction with possible workplace or career-based things. So that's something to watch out for. But the big overarching theme, especially with friction in multiple areas of life, tells me that there is a lot of things changing energetically. There's a lot of things shifting behind the scenes. And even if it doesn't feel ideal right this second, it doesn't mean that it's not going to turn out for the best. Okay, so I would like you to try to keep that silver lining. So yeah, please take a screenshot if you want to look at it further. Let's see what's in the shadows for you. So let's get a good shuffle here for the Geminis, please. What is in the shadows for my good friends? And yeah, I always like to pull one shadow card at the very end just to see whether it's something within you or something you don't quite see. Shadow cards don't always have to be a challenge. They could be a good thing too. So let's get you one. And if you made it to this point in the reading, please feel free to check out channel memberships. I'll put a link for it in the comments below. It's a beautiful way to support the channel, and I have much love for all my channel members. Okay, let's get this shadow card out here. Thank you. Nice and quick. All right, Four of Swords. So for some of you, you might need to either get away for a little bit or the rest and recuperation with the Four of Swords. Now, this is not always a bad thing. I link this card to rest. I link it to sleep. I link it to meditation and altered states of consciousness. This has a lot of depth to it. But what's the big thing with the Four of Swords? Very similar to what we saw here in the center. There's a big focus on needing some self-love and self-care. So I think that message that we picked up here in the center is still shining through in the shadows. There could be something that pops up. You need to do your best not to be mean to yourself about it, right? Like don't beat yourself up and give yourself a rest or a break. Now, for another portion of you, like this card could be Spirit saying, like, listen, you've been burning the candle at both ends for quite a while. You need some time to rest and recuperate. That could most definitely be it when it's here. I would say on the, on the lower end of the spectrum, watch out for sleep issues like insomnia, stuff like that, when this card shows up in the shadows, and weird dreams. But yeah, Gemini, that's what I have for you this week, my friends. Don't click away just yet, though. I'm going to give you the details of the December subscriber surprise. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can check out my digital calendar and book one at my website, mastermetaphysics.com. But for the December subscriber surprise, I'm giving away 3 copies of one of my favorite decks, the Everyday Witches Tarot. So if you'd like to get your name in for this, 2 simple things, as always, my friends. First, you must be subscribed. And second, let me know down in the comments, what do you want Santa Claus to bring you this year for Christmas? You'll be entered to win, and at the end of the month, the winners will be announced in my community tab. As always, my friends, much love, and I'll see you soon.